So I'm of the mind that those people who like to talk about the PlayStation console, who have an undying and unwavering commitment, and I don't know what it is to the console itself, I'm convinced they don't like PlayStation players because they simply make it a point to misinform and mislead this audience. A few days ago, tech YouTuber and fellow teacher Daniel Owen made a video that he titled, "Are Console Gamers Delusional?" In this video, he sits and talks about a lot of considerations that, you need to pay attention to. In fact, this was the first time I found out that he actually had a PlayStation 5. So dude's a gamer. And that's one thing about owning a console. You'll be very surprised how many, PC gamers actually own a console. It's just like a side piece of technology, especially if you like technology. A console will probably be in your house because, you're just a connoisseur and aficionado of consoles and such. Now, to that question, Daniel, I have an answer. I think the answer is actually no. It's just that those people who have an unwavering commitment to talk about PC in the light of their maybe feigned ignorance are the ones that are causing a lot of people to be delusional. They are the source of a lot of the challenges that we see. I hate to put people's names out here, but if you have a platform, I think you have a responsibility to be able to take very good care in terms of data and analysis in putting out information out there. Now, your opinions are your opinions. You can put out whichever opinions you want. That's subjective to you. However, when something is concrete from a data perspective, it is just not allowed for you to go ahead and do that. Okay? So, shout out to Zubitech. Oh my goodness. Why is it that a lot of people that put tech, you know what? Forget that. Anyways, this is from another post from another Twitter account called TrueGamer1111. And they posted and says, this shows why a lot of them are mad in the replies of any PlayStation 5 Pro post. Most of them own 3060s. And then they wrote PS5 Pro greater than 3060. Okay, I wondered. Apparently I muted Zubitech because, man, I just could not deal with this. So apparently Zubitech made this really beautiful graph. Like, this thing looks pretty good, man. I'm not going to lie. The color choices, this person, might be dialed into marketing or something because, man, this is better than any thumbnail I could put together. Y'all see my crappy thumbnails, right? And they wrote this, the most popular PC spec from Steam users. Then they compared that with the PS5 Pro. Daniel Owen, this is where the delusion is coming from. Because once we look at this data set, you're going to see that this is actually not the own that they think it is. They put CPU core 6 cores, CPU speed 2.3 to 2.69 gigahertz. Then they write a GPU, basically an RTX 3060, GDDR6 8 gigabytes, RAM 6 gigs. Weird. A 3060 is 12 gigs, isn't it? RTX 3060, 12 gigs of GDDR6. Anyways, let me keep going. Storage 1 terabyte, resolution 1080p full HD. Then they put all the specs, or whatever the heck this is, of the PS5, because, this is kind of different hardware. And then in their comments, they say, the exact PC is $784, includes Windows 11 and keyboard and mouse. PS5 Pro is $699 with a disk drive, or $799. All prices checked on Amazon US. Okay, Mr. Zubitech, let me show you that your data set is a whole bunch of hokey. Do you want to see it? All right. So, number one, when you look at this data set with the RTX 3060, you have to come and ask yourself, what kind of hardware do you need to actually play PlayStation games on the PC? Let's look at your most challenging PlayStation game, because I've already looked through this in like 50 videos. I don't have to go through and look at everything. I've looked at almost all of it. Your most challenging games are Returnal and Horizon Forbidden West. I think Returnal is a little bit more demanding in terms of its recommended settings. Weird. I thought it was going to be Horizon, but we'll look at Horizon 2. They're asking you for an i5-6400, a 4-core CPU, for the minimum specs. The recommended is 6-core CPU, which is what you said here, right? That's what PlayStation is asking on a PC. 16 gigs of RAM and about 8 gigs of VRAM, which is what you're over here trying to roast PC gamers for using. Your own PlayStation, the publisher, and its developers are making games for less powerful PCs while selling you a more powerful console. And somehow you think that this is an own. In what world do you think this is an own? Now, not that I agree that the 3060 PC is less powerful than the PS5 Pro, simply because I know that this 6 cores that's written here is an arbitrary number. Depending on the CPU, if we maybe even went, say, from the Ryzen 5 3600, we'll realize that that desktop CPU will perform better in many cases than the PlayStation 5 CPU. Even though the PS5 CPU may have 8 core 16 threads, it's a custom CPU because it's an APU that shares its capacity with the GPU of the PS5 Pro. If you want to take a look at, say, how these CPUs might work or compare, just look at the Series X kit that Digital Foundry got their hands on, and they compared it with a lot of different CPUs, and you could find and see that those CPUs were performing better in most cases than the Series X CPU. The reason I use the Series X's CPU is because it's much closer to the PS5 Pro, just clocked slightly lower. It took PlayStation a PS5 Pro to be able to get a CPU that was better than the base Xbox Series X's CPU and Series S CPU. That's just one point. Let's go ahead and look at Horizon Forbidden West. What are they asking here? They're asking you for 16 gigs of RAM, an RTX 3060. I mean, the exact same specs that you're talking about. So what's going on is PC has set the standard already, because the most gamers are choosing, we're going to spend this amount of, money on our PCs. And PlayStation bowed down and said, yes, your majesty. And they built their games to suit those PCs. While they're asking you to buy more powerful hardware. In quote. Because, again, this particular build will run 1080, no questions asked, no compromises. It will obliterate 1080. It will do very well. And you know what's crazy? Many of you are looking on the bottom right corner of this particular video. This is my console killer build. I paid $650 for this build. In terms of basically putting it together, I had like some old parts, but when you look up the parts like the case and power supply and all that stuff, you come up with $600 and something. My GPU was the only one that I bought. I changed it from a 3060. When I first built it, I built it with a 3060, and another console fanboy came and told me, oh, this is pathetic. And I was like, well, let me show you what pathetic looks like. So I upgraded the GPU for like $20 more and smoked the PlayStation 5 with ease. Right? Just so that I could just say, all right, and it's my daily driver. I basically game with it. And so when you look at the prices from what this person is saying, this $784 is an inflated price with Windows keys actually at the price of about $130 added to it. That's where you're seeing $784 from. This person knows that Windows keys are actually, Windows is actually free. There's no way a person on Twitter that's claiming tech on their name does not know that. If they don't know that, then we probably need to say, okay, man, Windows keys are free, but you know that, but you put it there anyways, just like, you wanted to make it seem like the PlayStation 5 Pro is like some kind of a, value proposition. Not only that, they added the keyboard and the mouse as well. Now, the question is, what keyboard and mouse did you add there? Because I can almost guarantee you, ladies and gentlemen, that a keyboard and mouse costs you about $12 on Amazon. You see, this whole, dude, I still have a free keyboard that I got from like some, bin somewhere. I gave it to my son. That's how cheap these things are. Like, people act like, dude, it is easier for you to acquire a keyboard than it is to acquire any of the standard controllers. Like, I like Xbox controllers to play most of my games, but when I play fighting games, I play on DualShock 5 or DS4. And DS4 and DS5s are so expensive, like super expensive when it comes to buying just a simple controller compared to everything else. Because you can buy a controller for like $20. You can buy a Mimic PlayStation or Mimic Xbox, not Mimic PlayStation, you can't even get many of those. A Mimic Xbox controller, the Power 8 controller, but those are light, don't have the same feel. But when you go in to try to buy the other stuff, you got to spend at least $45. On a good day, one day Lenovo was selling these Xbox controllers for $39. Man, I missed out on that. I'm beating myself up. I bought that MSI controller somebody recommended. I don't like it. A keyboard and mouse, on the other hand, I've bought many. I mean, there's a number of computers in my home. I'm not going to tell you how many because, man, if I say it, y'all are going to be like, you're lying. I mean, so why bother? And a keyboard and mouse is something that you can get for about $10. So this delusion is not coming from PlayStation players. They're not really the source. They're just basically the product of having consumed, a lot of opinions from these so-called, tech, whomever they are. And it's causing a lot of misinformation. It's the misinformation, guys, that I'm making my videos against. Because these folk will literally sit here and make up stuff just to basically, put themselves in some light, or maybe I don't know what it is that they're trying to achieve. You want to show that the PlayStation 5 Pro is more of a superior device than the regular PC build. Okay, you've achieved something, but another thing that a lot of these folk don't even pay attention to is you're making a comparison that is actually quite, in my opinion, disingenuous, simply because an RTX 3060 is a 30 series card. And it's a card that has access to NVIDIA's, upscaling technologies. Not all of them, but some of them. And it would operate differently from what the PS5 is capable of doing. The SSR, which is the upscaling technology that, PS5 Pro has, is still going to work on AMD. So really, ideally, FSR 3 is still going to work on that particular, NVIDIA card, and the NVIDIA card still has access to some stuff from NVIDIA itself. So the RTX 3060 is a much more versatile GPU than the APU that you have inside of that PlayStation 5 Pro. Again, this is a problem that we continue to see, where it just appears to me that nobody is really interested in actually saying the truth. These guys just want to just talk and make it seem like at the end of the day, they have something to offer when it comes to this conversation, and they're just causing a lot of confusion when it comes down to it. If you want to play on a console, play on a console. The reason, a lot of people have, this conversation has attracted a lot of people, a lot of PC players into it, is because, for the most part, PlayStation players pretended like, for them, they acted like they were the chosen ones, like, everything centered around them. So now that their hardware, the PS5, has been exposed to be pretty much, subpar, weak hardware, outdated, it seems like it's imperative that they somewhat make their, their PS5 Pro console this big thing. It's not a big deal. There's really nothing that, this console is actually doing out here that really that really makes any big, huge, dent in gaming, especially when we have the 4090 that's literally sitting here. And we're already talking about the 5080 and the 5090. I mean, come on. And now PlayStation, after this many years, is wanting to give you some kind of an upgrade that's going to give you what? That's going to help you do what? So it's okay. You might think, the average PC, user is a loser for having a build that is, in my opinion, still better than a PS5 Pro, because it would do 60 FPS. This is why I now I know why a lot of tech YouTubers don't bother having this conversation, especially at the onset of the generation. They usually wait till mid-gen refresh before they start, they start talking about anything, because this is insane, man. It's absolutely insane. Thanks for watching this video. I gotta go, guys. Thanks again. Peace out.